So here we are. I'm a little worried if uh, I'm sure you guys are too about all of the ICE agents that are going to be flooding the streets by next year. Um, what a rough week. Yeah, it's been so rough that great to be back with you, Terry. Hey, that I've kind of had to just not watch a lot of news because of that, and just sort of you know um, just kind of take it a little bit slow in terms of know what's going on and then kind of digest it because so I've been looking a lot about at the U.S. Constitution signing chart. Me too. It's been hard to function. Yes, totally. It's so exhausting and overwhelming and upsetting that for your own mental health, you need to take. Hey, Laura, uh, you need to take breaks from it. Right? It's good to know what's going on, but y- you know I was talking to my husband last night about this. He was just saying, like, he watches tons and tons of news. He was watching so much news, he was getting himself into a kind of a depression and really stressed out. And, waiting, like, sort of like waiting for the shoe to drop. I think that's a lot of people watching the news right now are just like, when's the next thing going to come? But I have a feeling from looking at the chart of the US Constitution signing chart that what I was saying to him were there are moves and there are counter moves, right? So this isn't going to all happen in one week, right? I'm freaking out. I'm doing the bubble and other meditations this day. I'm freaking out. Yep, I get you, Jeffrey. Uh, it's good to do the bubble, to do a meditation, to try to, hey, Martin, to just kind of ground yourself, try to do something you love. Hey, Jessica. Yeah. I don't blame you, Jessica. Uh, I think, we can't really do much other than, hey, Kathy, speak out and do what we can do. But this is not something that's going to be solved. Hey, Billy, uh, it's not going to be solved by just, no one's going to solve it but us. That's what I think. It's not going to be solved by a vote. It's not going to be solved by, sadly, by the Democrats. It's not going to be solved by the Republicans. It's this is a much bigger problem that I think we're facing right now. So as I've said before, we're in the Uranus return for the Civil War, for the Revolutionary War, and for World War II. When we joined, pretty much, uh, we're in a Neptune return to the Civil War, and the final Neptune return is coming this fall. I think maybe it retrogrades back in the beginning of next year as well. We're in the Pluto return between the start of the country and the founding fathers coming up with the Constitution and signing the Constitution and putting it in place. So there's a lot of karmic stuff happening, and I think there's been a lot of rot in our system for a long time. We just haven't noticed it. Hey, CD. Hey, Claudia. So Uranus is in the fourth house in the U.S. Constitution signing chart, which I've been talking about for a while, and how every time it does that, there's unrest and violence on the homeland, right? Well, what's going to happen is it's going to retrograde coming up in the fall, back into Taurus, move into the third house. Neptune's going to move back into Pisces, and it's going to be confusing again. It's going to feel like, what the hell? I mean, all this crazy stuff has happened. What do we do about it? Where are we going next? What should we do now? We protested. People have been protesting. People have been doing what they can. They've been speaking out about this, but there's no movement forward, right? In terms of there's no response to that. So what I think is going to happen is through the protests, through people organizing and joining together. So I think what's going to happen is it's becoming more obvious, I think, that, like I've been saying, we're going to have a world war probably before we have our civil war. I think what's going to happen is um, we might see this kind of calm between Iran and Israel. It's sort of, I think it's basically what I think is happening is they're both sort of re-strategizing, and especially Iran, I think, is um, probably accelerating their nuclear program. And once they have it, that will start back up. Russia, Putin, he's waiting to finish off what he's done in Ukraine so he can move forward and start encroaching on other territory in Eastern Europe. And we're in a world war. We just don't know it yet. It's like what happened in World War II, where you had Hitler taking over other countries, and people were like, well, we don't know what to do about this. He went into Czechoslovakia, and, or I don't know what it was called at the time. Could have been Czech. I don't know, the Czech Republic. I don't know what it was called at the time. It was called Czechoslovakia when the Russians or the Soviet Union took it over. Now it's Czech, Slovakia. But anyway, the Czech Republic. So when he went into that, and there was some negotiations trying to deal with it, people didn't realize that it was the start of a world war. People don't realize that we're in the start of a world war right now. I don't think people are aware of that. We've been being attacked by Russia through nefarious means, trying to uh, basically installing a president into our midst to try to create chaos. The Russians have attacked another sovereign nation, and they're trying to organize, a coalition. And I believe that this is the start of something bigger, right? And it's not going to go away. It's going to continue to accelerate. So as that continues, we have what's going on here in the United States, which is we have an installed president who, um, has been a Russian puppet, but now it seems that, and like I thought this would happen because, Trump is not predictable. And if he doesn't think he's getting what he wants, he's not going to go along with anyone. So he's gone a little rogue. We'll see what happens with that on that front. But now we've got this massive bill that's going to put $160 billion into ICE, bigger than the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI all combined. And so what does that mean for all of us? They're trying to get rid of citizenship for people born here. They're talking about deporting people who are American citizens. So what that's telling us is kind of that dream I had back in 2020, which is that they're going to start going after people who don't agree with them, right? So I expect this to escalate by next year when Uranus goes back into Gemini and Mars joins it by the spring, summer of next year. And I think that's when things get really crazy. That is the actual same exact thing that happened when the Civil War started the first time, the first Civil War we had. Uranus and Mars were conjunct opposing the moon in the Constitution signing chart. And I believe that next year is the start of some serious, more organized pushback, because I think what's going to happen, just this makes sense, right, is that besides all of the cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, which people are not going to know about until 2020, after the elections, which I'm not sure there will be elections that are legitimate anyway. But I think what's going to happen is we're going to see people being taken from their homes that are regular citizens that don't agree with Trump. Maybe people, they're going after Comey and the ex-head of the CIA, Brennan. And I think what we're gonna start to see is people taken or trying to be taken, and a lot of little ruby ridges all over the place, people fighting back, people not wanting to go, and we have a lot of guns in this country. Um, who knows? Maybe they'll try to outlaw guns next. Maybe that will piss off the right enough to freak out. I don't know. Um, you would think that, you know, the template for this that they're using, this sort of fascist template, has never really been tried in a place like the United States, which is a multicultural place with people who are radicals from other places. It's a very radical, extremist place in terms of the people that came here, that founded this country, and the people that joined them are pretty, extreme in their belief systems. And that's built into the DNA of being an American. That, on top of the fact that we have unbelievable amounts of guns in this country and people who are ex-military who know how to build bombs and do all kinds of stuff. And I mean, it's just an insane idea, I think, that you can roll over people here, because you're seeing even in like Los Angeles. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was an ICE raid in a farm, and all of these people just got in front of the ICE vehicles and tried to stop them, and like kind of like Tiananmen Square type of deal, and they started throwing flashbangs and all this stuff. So people are fighters here, and I think, unfortunately, I think it was Kennedy who said, when you don't give anybody a choice, I'm just paraphrasing, I'm not saying exactly what he said, but when you don't give people some kind of way to change things through voting, through democratic means, they resort to violence. And that's just the truth. That is literally what has happened historically throughout nation after nation. You, especially in a country where people have been free and they have enjoyed rights of whatever kinds, you can't just all of a sudden yank them away without a fight. So, what I think is going to happen, okay, so I'm going to read what CZ said. Wired is reporting that DHS saying there's a high likeliness more Americans will soon turn against the agency, which could trigger confrontations or federal sites. Exactly. I think that's very obviously likely. It's already happening. Um, but I also think, you know, it's all, the chaos will breed people coming together, organizing against this, but that's not going to happen right away. So I've been saying this for a little while, that I think, 2026 is a turning point. Uranus and Mars are conjunct. This is going to go to another level by the spring, summer of next year. It may feel like things go dark for a while, like people are just laying back and not doing anything and don't know what to do. And that is because a lot of the planets are going to retrograde in the fall, and people may be confused again, like, well, what is this all going to mean? Because a lot of these things are sort of waiting to kind of be employed, right? So, like I said, every action will have a reaction, and there are moves and counter moves. And this thing is like a tennis game where Trump is lobbing balls at us and we're hitting them back. And as this continues to escalate, we really don't get into the full Pluto return of this U.S. Constitution signing chart until 2030 or 2032, something like that. So what does that mean? It means we're in a period where we're rethinking, and we're doing it by force right now, our Constitution. Um, Frankly, I think since we've had, you know, since there's been an organized, and that's always happened in the United States, but it's gotten really extreme in the last 50 years, where there's been a real organized movement to seed the courts with extreme right-wing people, to manipulate the system for the wealthy class, to create an incredible income inequality so that people can't fight back. and it's rotten. And then we're seeing how rotten our system is because what are the Democrats doing? They can't do anything, or they're not doing anything. I mean, I know there are good Democrats, and I'm not trying to, but they are basically a corporate uh shill. They're most of them are corporate shills too. I mean, you know, uh, they make money, they're happy, they give lip service to the right things, and then they don't do anything about them. Um, they come up with something like Obamacare, which is basically is probably better for the health insurance companies than is for people. And, you know, um, it's kind of a little bit of like a bone to the people, and then they just kind of serve their corporate masters. Now, I'm not saying everybody's like that in the Democratic Party. There are really good people too, but that's the majority. And it's why people like AOC and Bernie, even though he's not a Democrat, or um, Jamie Raskin, a lot of people who try to speak out and do good things kind of get suppressed because they're not part of that club. They're standing outside of it shouting, this isn't great. This isn't gonna work. We need to go back to the old democratic ways, which were like the FDR kind of style Democrats. Now, if we had an FDR style Democrat, which we did in Bernie Sanders, we could have probably avoided a lot of this stuff, but he would have been fighting against this whole system by himself. And I don't know that it would have worked. It probably would have failed. So the system is collapsing. And to me, it's scary, and it's going to be really horrible. Not just because of we're basically being attacked as the people here, but also, you have the sort of demolishing of Noah, so that there's going to be horrible, and there's climate change is escalating, and basically, we're going to see a lot more people die from hurricanes, flooding, tornadoes, fires, because there isn't it's they've eviscerated that agency. So let's see, I'm going to read some things. I said defending. There are so many things the Dems could have done to prevent. I know, you're right. Should have unseated the insurrections after January 6th. The courts could have stacked with. Yes, I agree. They could. I mean, Biden, and I'm not trying to talk shit about Biden, but he could have and he should have stacked the courts with more justices. There's no rules against that. The Democrats, I mean, early on, should have just impeached Trump before he got his claws in the Republican Party. If they would have done that, the Republicans would have gone along with it. Now, that being said, the reason it didn't happen is because the whole system is fucked up. And we have Citizens United, which allows really wealthy people to basically have outsized power and agency, and it wouldn't have solved all of our problems. So I think this is karmic, and it's unfortunate that it had to get this bad for people to feel like it has to change. But I think that's the reason it's gotten so extreme, is because um you know it's really been going this way for a long, long time. It's really been going this way for a very long time, and most people just didn't see the machinations underneath the surface, and now we're seeing it all exposed. So what's going to happen is the only people that are going to save us are ourselves. We're going to have to stand up on some level, and it will become clear. So I just want to say, I know people are confused. What are we going to do next, right? But heard that Justice Ben will eventually be the Chief Justice. Has anyone heard that? Here's the thing. We're not going to be able to. I think we're going to fall back into a little bit of a coma coming up here, and that's because the planets are going to retrograde and people are going to be confused again. What do all these things mean? How are they working? There's probably going to be a bunch of really bad hurricanes coming up this season. I think that's very likely. I think there's gonna be other chaotic things happening that people are gonna be dealing with. Um, the tariffs are supposed to go in play. I don't know if that will happen. Uh, it seems like it I think it will, and I think that's gonna catch, Wall Street by surprise, and the market might crash. We're probably gonna have problems getting certain things here in the United States. There's gonna be other issues that are probably gonna be just more mundane issues that are going to take precedence for a time period. I've seen astrological forecasts for a major event the weekend of July 20th. What have you seen in the US charts for this time frame? Um, I haven't looked at that specific date, to be honest. I've been looking more a little further ahead than that. I've been looking forward into this period where Mars and Pluto are basically on the angles. And this period, this is why I'm saying this isn't going to happen, over a very short period of time. This is a long arcing problem that builds and builds and builds into an extreme place. And that doesn't really happen, I think, until 2027, 2028, something like that, where you have the transiting Pluto sitting on the ascendant and the progressed Mars right on the seventh house cusp in opposition of one another. And you have, of course, Uranus still in the fourth house opposing the moon. I think that's actually 2027 or 2028. And I think that's a turning point. I think, whatever happens on the 20th, I think there is something kind of very likely to be um, kind of looming. I'm sorry, my foot was, uh, I was talking about it a couple weeks ago. I felt like there was something really bad coming. It could have been the floods. Because I kept getting the tower card, and it sort of dissipated. It kind of went away shortly thereafter. So it could have been that traumatic event with so many people passing at one time. But I don't know. I can't look at my computer right now to figure out. I'll write a piece about that. I'll look at that. But I haven't. Um, oh, okay. So somebody's saying looked at Cancer at 11 degrees on the same degree as 9/11. Well, Cancer, okay, let me just say one thing about that is Jupiter has a 12-year cycle. So, and Jupiter in Cancer is exalted. So, um, you know, I don't know that that's particularly significant, to be frank with you. Jupiter in Cancer, I mean, it's going to be at that degree every 12 years. The last time it would have been at that degree would have been in 2013, right? Because it's 2025. Um, so like I said, we've already had a cycle where we've had that degree happening. Jupiter moves pretty quickly, and Jupiter is not a negative. It's not a malefic. It's a beneficial planet. So, and in Cancer, it's sort of protective and good. So unless it's making really hard aspects to something, and in Cancer, you know, in the U.S. Constitution chart, it's I haven't noticed. I mean, Jupiter in Gemini has been we had a Jupiter return. We're having a Jupiter return in that chart. So, like in the spring, and so it going into Cancer. I'm not sure it would be in the I think fifth house. So I don't know that that's the same degree doesn't necessarily mean the same thing's going to happen, especially with a planet like Jupiter. Um, Even with like a Saturn return, there's usually a different kind of energetic thing that happens when you go through your first Saturn return and you go through your second Saturn return. Your first Saturn return is around between the ages of 27 and 30. Your second one is in your 50s, like your mid to late 50s, usually 56 to about 58 or something, 59. So, maybe starts a little earlier for some people, 56, 57, but it's really different. The second Saturn return, the first Saturn return is all about feeling like you're kind of present, you're grown up, you're on your path. The second one, often people reevaluate their career, think about what they're going to be doing, how they're going to retire. So um, I don't know that the Jupiter return is going to amount to anything. I wouldn't think it would, but I'll have to look into it. And around three, about 9/11, the appeals court ruled against the coordinator of the attack. Eight of Swords is ruled by Jupiter and Gemini. Huh, I didn't know that. Okay, if you do get a chance to look at the time frame, I will definitely do that. So I'll look at it I'll look at that. I'll make a note of that on my hand so I don't forget. July 20th. Um, I haven't really been looking that, and like my feeling has been okay, 720. Uh, I've been feeling like uh that you know, there may be I think there are imminent things coming in the fall. I've been trying to figure this out because I saw all the sort of really creepy, scary kind of visions uh, of missiles, or maybe they were drones, stuff coming from the sky. And I wasn't sure, like, is this year? Is it next year? You can't tell when you have a vision of something. I mean, I've had stuff, like I said, happen, visions of things that happen 20 or 30 years later. So I don't know, like, what the time frame for that is. I've been trying to pin that down and figure out when that's going to happen. That could be something that comes, as we, much later when this whole thing escalates to an extreme place. It seems unlikely to happen now, right now. So, you know, you have to try to use like sort of a balanced approach of logic and this and astrology, and also whatever the visions are, to try to figure out the timing of things. It's not always easy to do because they don't really. Have you heard the unearthed tapes of Trump threatening Russia? And he happened to be likely having a press conference. No, I have not heard about that. Huh. He was threatening Russia. What was he saying? When did this happen, Jeffrey? How long ago did he do this? Was it recent or about Russia on Monday? I don't know about this. Does anybody else know about this? I'm not aware of it. That we would bomb them if we had to. Oh my God, really? He said he was going to bomb Russia. Jeez, November 2024? He was with the billionaires and telling him that bomb them and nuke them. What went off on Trump? Is Bundy going to be forced to step down over the assembly? Yes, and there are expletives, huh? Wow, I'm gonna have to look for that. So that happened last November, right before was it right around the election? All right, look for this. Unearthed tapes. Trump. Yes. Wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Why would he threaten to bomb them? Didn't Pete Hegseth just demand the military order an extreme amount of yeah, to be ordered, I think yesterday. A few days ago he said that. Wow. I really need to check back into the news. Oh, okay. Wow, that's some crazy shit. Uh, hmm. Intelligence says a big announcement on Russia's coming this Monday. Well, I know they're sending stuff to Ukraine. Russia responded. What did Russia say? See, this is what I'm saying. I do think we're going to get into a war with Russia. And clearly, that seems to be the case. Okay, CNN on YT has the audio. Huh. Which I was saying, he threatened to bomb Moscow and Beijing. Reuters business. God, I wish I could open that, Allie, because I can't. Otherwise, I'll have to try to do it later. There's a link to the story. Okay. They called him a name. Idiot, maybe? Was it that or something to that effect? So he's talking about, so by then, had he won the election? because I'm pretty certain I'm getting out of swords in the nature. My concern is with Iran. They have a large number of sleeper cells in the US. Yeah. Okay, yes. And I know they will retaliate. I know they will. They are going to retaliate. When they retaliate, though, I think is not going to be immediate. I have a feeling, my intuition tells me they're going to wait till they get their nuclear program back online and they have a bomb. And there's nothing we can do about it. I think they're going to wait. I think we will get it coming to us at some point when we don't expect it. Came fantasy with our country. And that's exactly right, CD. It was a private fundraiser. Denise, also bubonic plague is showing up in hospitals news. Oh my God. Wow. Well, I mean, we have the greatest people, right, who are heading up our public health right now. I also heard something, I don't know, I believe you. I believe you. I know. So bubonic plague, it's here in Arizona. It's always actually, there's been other cases throughout the last, I don't know, 50 years. Um, I think squirrels or something, or some kind of like rats or something, they carry it. I'm not sure. And every once in a while, people get it. Grand Canyon area where the plague is. Yeah, common in Arizona. Yeah, that's right. It's not. People get it every once in a while from the wildlife. Deer, rodents, squirrels. Yep. That was in Flagstaff. Oh, I thought it was eradicated. Thank you. Yeah, it's eradicated in humans for the most part. And I think it's just like antibiotics they give you for bubonic plague. Personally, I believe his tell on Monday as a taco event of 2 weeks. However, I feel the increased drone strikes in Ukraine is put in case Trump is serious. The plague has shown. So, up in Colorado, yeah. Yeah, the Four Corners area, it shows up there every once in a while. It's so exhausting, isn't it? It's exhausting, right? I mean, this is exhausting. It's too much. It's too much crazy. So I'm curious if Trump, Trump, I'm certain that Trump and Putin and Elon Musk got together and figure out how to mess with and monkey with the election system and installed him again after the first round of the Trump, they used misinformation. This time I think they actually messed with the vote. Why would Trump be threatening to bomb Putin after all that Putin has done for him, unless there was some kind of dictate by Putin to do something Trump didn't want to do? ISIS tear gassing children. Yep. Yes, I know. The Arizona bubonic plague died. Okay. Sacramento. Okay. Iranian clerics invoked a fatwa. Yep. Calling for the torture, assassination. Will they succeed? They've done that more than once. This is the second fatwa on him. Actually, Iran had a fatwa on him back in a couple years ago, and people were like, when are they going to try to do something? And they said that they were going to wait till he became president. It'd be easier. I don't know how that would make sense, but that's what I heard. I read that also the patient died. Yeah. So okay. So what patient died? Was it the person who, the bubonic plague person? Yeah, I think if it's too far gone, you can't treat it with antibiotics. It's the felon just threatened Rosie O'Donnell. Oh my God. This is what I'm talking about. This is what the army of ICE is for. This is what the $180 billion or $160 billion is going to go to, is terrorizing citizens. It's not going to be getting rid of, I don't think. I think, yeah, they're going to escalate the racism and throwing out people who pick your lettuce and everything, and who came here to try to have a better life. they'll terrorize them, but they're gonna terrorize us as well. This is the next phase. And that is what we're gonna be dealing with by next year, I think. And that is, I think, why, um, it's gonna blow up into something much bigger. Is the world court going to step up and call out the USA on the treatment of immigrants in these camps? That's a good question. I'll have to ask the cards that the very small hashtag of MAGA people I know are all turning against him. Well, that's good. I think that's gonna continue because, granted, they set it up in the bill that the evisceration of Medicare and Medicaid isn't gonna happen until 20 after the 2026 elections, which I think that's just because the Senate and the Congress people they think maybe they were not gonna have a real election, but they don't know, so they wanna make sure that their asses are covered. Um So they can blame it on who if the Democrats win, then they can blame it on them, but that is gonna totally affect m mostly all red people in red states and rural areas, as you all know, and, um, I mean, it's just so it's like a tornado of shit, it's just and it's just not gonna stop until people really, I think, sadly, um there's I think the only I think, Kennedy was right. I don't think there's you I just don't think that there's any hope of there being a process in the government that's gonna stop this, or I think it's being eviscerated and torn down. Our court system is a joke. I mean, the Supreme Court is ridiculous. They are just I don't even, think they're not a legitimate court. They're just monkeys for the Republican Party, and, I mean, there's 3 of them that are good, but the rest of them, the majority on the court are just ridiculous, um, and that was all set up before this even came into play, so we have a captured, judicial branch, and I know that some of the lower courts have been doing good things, but ultimately, when it ends up at the Supreme Court, they do the wrong thing, and that being the final say, they're not gonna stop the courts aren't gonna stop this. The courts aren't gonna stop this, the Democrats aren't gonna stop it, the Republicans aren't gonna stop it, so that only leaves us, and I think at a certain point, it won't just be us, it'll be people in the military, it'll be people who are, maybe people in the government, who are not cronies of Trump, people that are retired, and other people will join in on with this. There's going to be a revolution. There's going to be a civil war. It's going to turn into a hot civil war. There's just no other way forward here. And that is what Trump is just, you can only push people so far before they break and become violent. And this is what's happening. So this is just the start. We're at the very tip of the iceberg. This has not gotten as bad as it's going to get. So I think you should pace yourself with, you know, because and I mean, I wish it wasn't this way, but unless we get some kind of miracle that the people in the government, Republicans and Democrats, realize that there is going to be a revolution if they don't do something about this, I don't think they're going to do anything about this. I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to have a civil war and we're going to have to rewrite our constitution. I think we're going to have to actually have another constitutional convention. And that's what the Pluto return will be in the 2030s is. Are we going to become a failed state, or are we going to go ahead and rewrite a democratic constitution that works for the 21st century and beyond and takes into account AI and all these other things and just the way that the world has shifted so much, and get rid of all these this ridiculous, I mean, it's like a new Gilded Age is what it amounts to, and the last time we had a Gilded Age, the last turn of the century when the Industrial Revolution happened, and you had, the wealth class really oppressing everybody else. You had revolutions all over the place, and in the United States, uh, it didn't get violent because we had people listening to us. Um, and you got FDR, who came in and sort of created social programs and changed things around enough to abate that, to make sure that didn't happen. But we don't have anyone like that now. And that's just it's where it's going. Governors will step up, I think. I think they will. Because, through the Texas mess, it's so dark. It is. You have you have a point. Well, let's see. Mystic Mom. Let me see what Mystic Mom said. I didn't see it. Do you think there will be a false flag UFO invasion? I heard this floated on a YouTube channel. It suggested that it would be easier to control us if we were scared of an invasion we don't understand. Hmm. I think it'd be pretty hard to do that, um, for a number of reasons. Uh, One is, we do have some back engineered technology that is true, that would scare people if we took it out, but I don't think we have enough of it to create the sense that there's an invasion. Um, I also I I don't think that Trump is that smart, to be honest with you. I don't think that he's that type of person that thinks in, like, that kind of three-dimensional chess kinda way. I think, um, what we saw last fall, the drone stuff that was going on in the East Coast that people thought was a UFO flap or something, but pretty certain it was drones looking at the video of it. That freaked people out, right? But I think, though, I think that was actually probably something. I think they were hiding something from us, and I think that they were probably hiding, like I said, I think that might have been more related to a world war type of event situation that was trying to be not dealt with, so it wouldn't escalate the situation, than it had to do with anything else. So I don't think, you know, I don't think so. I really don't think I really don't think so. I don't think we have enough technology to do that in a convincing way. Maybe we could. I think there was a false flag event right before there was disclosure. Like maybe it was 2 years ago, in the spring. It was in Florida where there was this big. It looked almost like a hologram of this giant kind of alien looking thing that came out into this shopping mall, and people started freaking out and screaming and running down the street and getting into fights and stuff. It was like something out of a movie, and I think that was a false flag. I think that was our government trying to see if people really could handle disclosure, and they found out people couldn't handle disclosure. I think that was a test. And, you know, um, I suppose if we had thousands of, UFO style ships, which I don't think we have, the technology is very difficult. And I think there are some, I do think we have back engineered some, but I doubt that we have enough to make it look like there is an invasion going on, especially because the kind that we have, I think, are like the triangle. We've back engineered the triangle style UFOs and the sort of saucer shaped ones. But from what I've heard, I don't know that that's true, but I'm pretty certain that's probably true. But the kind of ships that it would take to really freak people out would be like giant motherships, and I'm certain we don't have that. So, I mean, I've seen many UFOs. It's not really that scary, it's weird. It's not scary though. So I don't know that it would scare everybody. It might freak them out a little bit or might make them feel just, but I don't know it'd be enough to, like, push people over the edge to just do whatever dear leader said. I don't think so because I don't think we have if we had thousands of them filling the sky, yeah, okay, I could see that, but I don't think that we do. I really, really don't. Stephen Millhex and Tulsi be able to handle this. Handle which one are you talking about? This Denise, this what is really scary is Japan pulling US bonds. Yeah, if they do this, it'll destroy our economy. Well, yep, I mean, I think that's I had a dream last fall. And I think that's what this year was sort of the big event was in terms of the collective, besides all the climate change stuff. And it is economic. This year is the worst things in terms of it affecting everyone will probably be economic problems. The dollar falling, our country kind of like not being able to get food, things going up in price, people having a harder time. And that's, I think, definitely, if you want to create you don't need UFOs to create panic. If you make it so that people can't buy food, you're going to create panic. If you make it so that everything is so expensive and people can't buy basic things anymore, you'll create people who are really distraught and upset and panicked. And I think that's the strategy. It seems like that the Trump administration has been. I mean, I don't know if Trump is smart enough to figure out the tariffs are going to do that. I don't know. He seems like he's not that bright to me. But if he did have a strategy to sort of distress people, that's the one he's carrying out. Besides the SS style ICE kind of stuff, where he's grabbing people off the street and freaking people out and upsetting them. I think that now if we had some kind of like false flag event, or if we had, a sleeper cell do something terrible, I think you would see people rally around and kind of try to support whoever's in charge for a very short period of time. But I really don't think it would last. Let's put it that way. I think, uh, you know, I think, like I said, there are moves and counter moves, and whatever they do will eventually have whatever action is taken has a reaction. And all of this stuff that's happening now is just leading to something a lot worse, in my opinion. All of this stuff is kind of building to something, and we are seeing all the pieces, but not how they all fit together because, like the drones happening that I think that is some kind of to me, that was, I think that was some kind of Russian thing. I really do, or maybe Chinese, but Russian. I feel like it was Russian. I think it was some kind of scouting mission, and maybe after Trump, I don't know. I mean, maybe was my feeling. Maybe that was after Trump, or around the time that Trump said that stuff to maybe it was some kind of a threat that we didn't know or understand. That's how I felt. It was some kind of message to somebody in power. And that's why we didn't hear anything about it and why it was sort of suppressed. Um, that's what I think. And I think there are things that are happening that are not being told to us because there are people in power who are fighting amongst themselves and they don't make sense to us, but they make sense to those people. I think that's one of those things. Uh, People who are shrewd and nasty. That's right. Well, he's shrewd and nasty too, so that makes sense. Um, you know, hi, Jim. Um, I don't know what to say about all these other things, like July 20th. I think that there is some kind of. I was feeling there was some kind of imminent thing coming. Um, a couple of weeks ago, and it sort of feels still right now. there is a lot of I feel like there's almost like that feeling of like you're in the eye of the hurricane kind of thing, or the eye of the storm, eye of the tornado, and there's something else gonna happen. Um, but I'm not sure which of those things are gonna break first, if it's gonna be I'm also worried about bird flu. Bird flu is, like, totally off the radar. If you try to Google bird flu, you're not gonna find anything past the spring, the last statement of the CDC. There's nothing new on the internet at all about it. So, it's gone completely dark, and I'm worried that that is going to creep up, and I don't know when that's gonna happen. And the thing is, in the US Constitution signing chart that I've been looking at, the Civil War, aspects are almost they're almost exactly the same kinds of things you would look for because they're happening in the 7th and the 1st, and the ruler of the 6th house, which is the public health, is the moon, and the Uranus opposition that's happening now and continues with that Mars-Uranus next year would also be what you'd look for a bad pandemic. So, I don't know, if it's gonna all happen at one time. I kind of feel like it might, that everything might just sort of break out in one giant thing, and maybe the actual fighting and the, people being close proximity or I've heard recently too, someone sent me, an email saying that brainworm has, decided not to kill the flocks, the chickens, so that basically from now on, they're gonna sell diseased chickens and eggs to people, to consumers. And if that's the case, a lot of people are gonna get sick a lot sooner. Um, Now they might not get the horrible version of it, but it will mutate pretty quickly into something spreadable. And, I would just say don't eat chicken or eggs coming for at all now, because once this happens, you won't know it. You prepare it, you touching the chicken, it's infected with the bird flu. They tell you not to touch birds now, but a dead bird carrying the bird, you're gonna you can get it that way. Um, so why that? Because they want to kill people. I mean, there's no other reason than that. Maybe Trump will crash the economy in its entirety after we're attacked. I still am wondering what is taking so long because I feel we're right there. I know it's weird. It feels like things were building, 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 and then like stopped for a moment. And I had a feeling that was going to happen, but I feel like what's happening is this is sort of like again, I feel like people have retreated to their corners and the moves and counter moves things. It's like all this kind of lead up, then there's a quiet because what are we gonna do next? How are we gonna plot our next move? What's the next thing that's gonna happen? And it feels like that's what's going on right now. Like there's some adjustments, there's some planning going on. I kept getting this thing about Putin in a naval uniform. I looked it up on Google to see if it was the right uniform that I thought it was a naval uniform, and it was. So I feel like there's some kind of attack by sea coming that feels imminent as well. And I feel like there's stuff brewing. Like I think the Iranians are going to I think they're definitely gonna build a bomb now, a nuclear bomb, and I think that's gonna go completely insane once that happens in the Middle East. Um, when that happens might be 3 to 6 months. And then I think we're looking at probably some kind of blowback here in the United States, some kind of event. I felt like it was gonna happen, and then I felt like, "No, let's wait on that." That's the feeling I got. It was like, coming, no, and then it changed. So I think I think there's more strategy being used, and not with our dude, but with the Iranians, Netanyahu, Putin. I think they're adjusting things, and I think Trump is so completely just off his rocker, like just so many different, just so completely unpredictable and inconsistent that I think he's throwing people off, you know, people around the world and how to deal with him. I I know that there's some kind of rift between him and Putin because they haven't talked in a long time. And I think that's why we even bombed Iran, because we wouldn't have done that if Putin and Trump were still talking. Um, so there's stuff going on that is also affecting what's happening here that we are not being privy to. Okay. Couldn't hey, Joe. Okay, let's see if I can go back and see what Malcolm Nance is saying. Iran will use an A bomb because low T is weak. Oh, I agree. I totally think they will. I think actually I think the Middle East very likely will end up in a nuclear war. But here's the thing, I kept seeing this like in 20 well, God, time is so weird now. Everything seems so long. It's really weird. So on October 7th, when that invasion happened in Israel, I had a dream that morning about it, and then later that, like in the next week or two, I was getting a lot of stuff. Like I had another dream about the hospitals being bombed and all this other stuff, and then I had this vision of a nuclear explosion, and I was like, "Oh no!" And then I realized, no, it was Israel. Israel was the one that was going to nuke, that was going to start the nuclear situation up. So maybe it's a metaphor for them, you know, creating the situation where Iran gets a nuke, but I don't think so. I have a feeling that once Iran gets a nuclear weapon, Israel will want to, well, Netanyahu, not Israel, Netanyahu will want to nuke Iran. And if they do that, then it's just like that's a full blown situation. And I think Netanyahu is insane enough to do something that stupid. I think he is. I mean, maybe not. I mean, it'd be really stupid because the nuclear fallout would be covering Israel too. It would be really crazy. Let's hope not. It's so insane. USA Today op-ed said Trump does deserve no. That's okay. Yeah, that's pathetic. That's just dang pathetic, I think. Here's one link to Aaron. Avian flu. Oh, thanks, CD. I'll have to check that out. I can't believe that they would. This link was from May, but I know there's a more recent one. Yeah, I have been looking on CDC website. There's nothing. I looked on the AMA website, old information, tried to Google and find it on other countries, but other countries are not having it as bad as we have it, so they don't have eyes on it like we should. I can't find any new information that hasn't been reported either in January or May of this year. Yeah. And you infiltrated the U.S. government and stole U.S. nuke secrets to create their nuke. Huh. I didn't know that. Huh. Hopefully a snowball has a better chance of surviving the fires of hell than Trump being given Nobel Peace Prize. I can't imagine that they would do that. I mean, they would really ruin their reputation permanently if they did that. I can't imagine they would do that. They're a body that is private, of scientists and people who are smart, so seems unlikely. I mean, they've done some dumb things, but that would be a whole other level. Hey, Sean. Okay, let's see. People are dumb in this country. They don't understand tariffs. Tariff is a tax. That's right. American people did that. Yep. We are at a time when it's right. Okay, COVID-19 disease posts updated into an all flus as anonymously reported to them by doctors and local health care. Yeah, I mean, I know there's a new Lakiru in the Congressional Medal of Honor. Yeah, that's right. Didn't he give it to Rush Limbaugh or something? China has fleets in Taiwan waters today. Oh, great. Yeah. I agree, Laura, and evil is good. Um, mm, yeah. I just feel like we're kind of in it. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. We're in it. We're in this escalation. It's this buildup. There's really not much we can do about it. And we're just going to have to wait until we can have our chance to do whatever it is that the next step is supposed to be. I mean, I just feel like this is all there's this it's all in play. And, you know, like I was thinking China, I mean, they have their own that's not surprising. This would be the perfect time for them to try to take Taiwan. Um I'm sure they're aligned with Russia. I think Russia's going to use them for their attack into Eastern Europe. I think, this is it's just we're in it. And I mean, that's part of the reason I've been focused on just trying to like get people to do their spiritual work, because no matter what happens, that's gonna help you, you know? Um, it's gonna help you to sort of deal with all this stress. It's gonna help you if the world really gets crazy and, you know, you're in touch with your own guidance and spirit and you're in a good place. That's about all I feel like we can do right now, besides, well, the other things that we normally do, because, we don't control the levers of power at this point. And once things start to emerge, which they will, where you can find a place to put your energy that is productive, and it will happen. I feel it'll start to happen by next year, where people will feel like they know what to do, um, and they will do it. But where we're at right now, it's like a big messy soup of crazy and just chaos, and, all these different agendas being set, and all of this stuff is about to explode into the world by next year. And until it does, regular people just don't have a way um to get a handle on how to respond to it, because how it's implemented is also going to be an indicator of how to deal with it. Uh, what did, so I'm going to go backwards. Oh, Don Lemon interviewed Epstein's brother yesterday. He said his brother's murdered. I totally agree. I mean, come on. I mean, Trump was president during the murder, right? Trump had so much to lose. There's pictures of him. He was almost he was about to go actually into uh, a rape case right before he was accused of raping a 13-year-old girl. Um, and it was an Epstein related situation. The prosecutor buried it because he won the election the first time. And he would have been very likely convicted of raping a 13-year-old girl had he not won the first time. That is, I think, a lot of probably what Putin, the compromise is on Trump, is about Epstein. So, and remember, Bill Barr was the his AG, and Bill Barr's dad gave Epstein his job. Bill Barr's dad wrote weird sci-fi erotica about young girls and stuff like that, and women. He was a pervert too, and I think, Bill Barr had something to lose if that information came out, because his father was very involved with Epstein. So, hmm, he just happens to kill himself while he's in a prison. The cameras are off, and nobody happens to be around, come on. I mean, he wasn't even he was in a jail. I mean, he wasn't even in, like, a prison, really, where it might be easier to do that. A jail cell is, like, open, and there should be guards kinda checking on you all the time. There's surveillance going on. It's ridiculous. I mean, so, yeah, I'm sure he had Epstein killed, and now he squashed the files. I mean, but I think Epstein is a big enough boogeyman on the right that that could turn people against Trump, and it already is kinda turning people against Trump. There are right-wing pundits who are freaking out right now because they've suppressed the information. I think you probably have heard that. Um, so, uh, Epstein, yeah, I'm not surprised. He compromised so many people. That's how he made so much money. The video I saw is directly across from the guard station. I mean, you know, it's I just I don't think someone like him would kill himself. That's all I can say. He had shit on every powerful person in the world. Why would he kill himself? He knew that was his get out of jail free card for years. Why would he do it then? I mean, he's also obviously a malignant narcissist like Trump, who got off on harming people and destroying lives. Those kind of people don't have empathy, they don't have compassion, and they also don't have um, uh, any kind of spiritual kind of underpinning. Somebody like that, those are the kind of people that want to have transhumanism. Like, they think that they want to live forever because they're afraid of what comes after this. He would not have done that. There's not a chance in hell that man with that psychology would have ever killed himself. I don't believe that. Not for a second. Anyway, and his girlfriend, yes, exactly. She's kept very quiet. And I mean, she's probably knows she'll get murdered if she says anything. I mean, I don't think it was suicide either. MAGA's disappointed they can't see these. Yeah, of course they are, because Maxwell try to get out now. There's no client list. I don't know. I mean, she's been in hiding, basically. Yeah. Will she get out now? I don't know. Is she in jail? I didn't even know. I thought she was kind of like hiding from the authorities. We have to be proactive to beat them down a punch, like hell without ceasing. Exactly. But we have to know what they're going to do. And the thing is, we see what they're doing. They're going to make it so that they're going to basically create a military, an army, an SS, whatever you want to call it, of people who will go and knock on doors in the middle of the night and drag people out of their houses like you would have in Eastern Europe. They're going to capture dissidents and dissidents, people that don't agree with them, um, and try to, put them in camps. That's what's going to happen. That's what this whole bill is about. That's what the big, beautiful bill is going to bring to us is, Nazi Germany is basically going to be a new SS, but they're going to be called ICE, and they're going to basically be capturing people and taking them. And I think the war will likely be starting against them because, I mean, if you get a knock in the middle of the night and there's masked men on your doorstep, your first thought isn't going to be that it's the government. It's going to probably be that they're criminals, right? And especially if you think, well, I'm an American citizen, they're not going to deport me. You can only imagine there's going to be some, it's going to go bad. It's going to go off. And if that starts happening, then you can only imagine where it goes from there. I mean, so that's just one piece of this. I mean, you've got that going on. You've got, uh, I don't know why, there was all that talk of Newsom saying that they were going to take, and maybe there's plans to do that, to try to like capture the government money and just reallocate it, the money that the federal state dollars that go the income tax, try to capture that and use it for California. That was talked about. Maybe that'll happen. Um, there's a lot of flashpoints. There's so many flashpoints, and some of them now we know this one's going to happen because the bill has passed. We know for a fact ICE is coming, and they're going to have like 10,000 people or something like that. And we know that Trump is definitely talking about taking American citizens and putting them in, making them stateless, basically, so that, where you're going to send people to that are, from here. I mean, you're going to put them in a camp. So um, that's where this is going. Uh, so slavery, yeah, that's right. It is like slavery. It will be slavery. It'll be work camps. So let me know the spiritual advisor to get out of here. And there is an ex-FBI agent, Anthony, posted on YouTube saying Americans need to leave here by 2030. Oh, I think we need to leave here sooner than that. But yeah, I think this is the way it's going. It's going to turn into that kind of a state. And I mean, you know, that to me is that's the clear thing. That's the clear thing that's coming and probably will be here in force. It'll really start to show up by the spring of next year, because they'll train them, they have the money, they'll get allocated the money, they'll train those people, they'll build those, camps, and it'll start to kind of happen by next year, I'm sure. Well, my other sort of ways to get out of here. Yeah, it's so obvious. It is so obvious. And like I said, that's the dream I had back in 2020, that they were rounding up people who didn't agree with them. That was one, in this facility. I don't even know what to call it. It was dark in there, and they were shooting people, and my only option was either to be shot or to go to the prison. And it was like, I think this is that was my warning that this is coming, which is why I went off YouTube and why I came here. But I think at some point, even being here will be, and anywhere will be, a problem. And organization will have to go underground, and people will have to find other ways of communicating that is not through social media. So this is why I like Substack, because what can happen is I can migrate all of your emails, and I can I can completely shut my site down and protect everyone so that nobody knows who you are or who I am, like at least publicly. I shut my YouTube and this down. And then I can maintain the list and keep in touch with you guys through email. So that's why I felt like this is a much better deal. Now, I'm not saying Substack is 100% safe, but shutting my Substack down and taking all the data is. If I do that, and I could, if things got crazy, wipe the data. I mean, at least I'm in control of that, and nobody can, as long as I keep that that information safe, nobody can get to it unless they have my physical computer, or maybe they could hack into my computer. But if it's protected, it wouldn't that be that easy. So it makes it a lot harder. It's not impossible, but it makes it more and more difficult. And that's how I've been thinking since Trump won, is because of the dream. I've been thinking I have to find a way to continue doing this, but not do it in a way where it jeopardizes the people watching me and myself. Because it's not just me who would be in trouble. It's anybody who who listens to what I have to say, who's also would be targeted. Yeah, and most people can't leave the country. You're right, Ellie. So all we need to start doing using TOR and the dark web. Huh, the dark web. I don't yeah, that's an interesting thought. Do you think ICE is being staffed by large numbers of white supremacists? Yeah, for sure. I think there's already been some evidence that they took the J6ers and put them in ICE. I think there's some kind of ICE that's legit, and then there's these sort of rogue ICE people that have the masks on and stuff that are not well trained. Um, so it's kind of a hodgepodge right now. But yeah, definitely. But I think it's they're gonna have to recruit a lot of people with that kind of budget. Oh, Canada and Mexico. Probably once it starts getting really violent. So maybe next year, some maybe you'll be able to sort of some people can make a case for it. CC, yes, and then Jan 6 people that are pardoned. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I guess I should wrap it up because it's been more than an hour, but I just I don't know what else to say other than do your spiritual work, try to stay informed, but don't get totally bogged down in it. And I mean, it's a very scary period of time, and it's trying to find the things in the day that make you happy because I hate to say this, but it's going to get worse. It's just going to continue to get worse, and you know you have to just enjoy what you can enjoy while you can enjoy it, and try to counterbalance that with all this shit that's going on. Well, each close the borders. Hmm, that's a good question. I don't know, Casey. Will he close the eventually, probably, I would think so, but probably not right away. Um, thank you guys. Hey, thanks, Deborah. Jasmine, thank you guys. I will look at some of this stuff and try to deal with this on my Substack over the week, the July 20th date, and also I'm going to look into the unearthed tapes. That's very weird. And then I'll see you guys next weekend. All right. Have a great week. Lots of love. Take care. Blessings to all of you. Lots of love. You're always in my prayers. All right. Take care, you guys. Bye bye.